Welcome to ClickFunnels Radio, the podcast that brings you the latest strategies, insights, and success stories from online marketers just like you who utilize funnels to grow their business. Our mission is simple: to help you unleash the true potential of your online business by harnessing the power of funnels. Join us every week as we bring you exclusive interviews and thought-provoking discussions that will revolutionize the way you approach online marketing. Here are your hosts, Laura Demetrius and Chris Cameron.
Welcome back to the ClickFunnels Radio. My name is Chris Cameron, and joined with me as always is my co-host, Laura Demetrius. What is up, girl?
Hey, how's it going? Things are great over here. I'm super excited for this one today.
Oh, this one is fun. I have to say, this has actually become a very close, personal, dear friend of mine. Happenstance, like we ran into each other at church. It was a whole thing, and like both funnel hackers. And I want to kind of talk through this journey. First of all, like to introduce the one, the only, Kathryn Jones. Kathryn, how are you doing?
Guys, I'm so excited to be talking with you. We started jamming, and then all of a sudden we were like, oh my gosh, we forgot we should probably start recording.
I know, we can do this forever.
I just love Chris, and I've been following Laura for forever. And so anyway, I'm so excited to be here.
This is the first time you two have actually met, though. Is that right?
Yeah, this is such a funny side story. I have known about Kathryn. It's probably been close to, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years already, which
crazy.
Seems crazy. Yeah, that seems absolutely wild.
I don't mean to I don't know if this is weird to say, but I'm 32 and I'm just getting to the point with people that I'm like, I've known them for more than a decade. And I'm having these moments where I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. I'm getting old.
Yes. I'm still convinced I graduated college like 5 years ago, but.
And me for high school. I'm like, I can't believe that was like half of my life ago. It's crazy.
And look what you two have done.
I know. So I was actually like an acquaintance of Kathryn, and we have so many mutual friends online, and I've known so many people that have like done gigs with her and have like just helped with their businesses together and collaborated. And back in my self-publishing school days, I knew who Kathryn was, and I feel like we've been friends online for so long that when we were scheduling this podcast interview, I was like, oh my gosh, this is probably my first time actually having a conversation with you, which is so exciting because we have been just like ships in the night for so long.
You know what, though, never to be disconnected again. We made it. It took us 8 or 9 years and we're never going to separate. So
we've made it.
Yes. But I think what a fun thing.
I feel like I'm refereeing you two like fangirling each other. This is good time.
Oh yeah. I have been a fan.
I'm in the middle of it.
Everything you do, I'm just like, what are you up to now? Like, there's so many things going on. I have so many, like Chris said, tactical questions. Like I get tactical. Obviously, I want to catch up on so many other things that are going on in your personal life too. But I'm just really excited to dive into all you do because like you are a powerhouse.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Well, I think that's why there is the mutual girl crush, because for me too, like I'm all about the story. I'm all about the fluff, but I'm also like, what's the framework? Like, what's the step-by-step? Give it to me. Like, I need steps to follow. That's the way my brain works. So if you don't have steps to follow, it's just a general principle. Happy for you. You can't be my guru, right? Like, anyway, so all to say, I'm happy we finally met up.
Yay.
Oh, I love it. Well, let's jump in here. So Kathryn, I want to kind of go back a couple years ago because you are such an incredible force. And I remember when you first spoke at Funnel Hacking Live and people were so drawn to you, but a lot of your story is what people were drawn to. You're like, let me tell you about this guy who broke my heart. You got very with these people. And a lot has changed in the last couple of years, not only in personal life, but in business. I mean, I want to kind of know what has changed. Like Travis, Lucy, like tell us what has happened. And then I'll probably have some more filling questions, but what has changed since, was that 2020?
Yeah. Can you believe it? Yeah. So it was the 2020 and it was right before the pandemic hit. So it was like those 6-ish weeks before. And it's so interesting because at that Funnel Hacking Live, I spoke all to funnel hacking, right? With my methodology funnel design with design hacking.
Yeah.
But most interestingly enough, it was amazing. Like that happened and you're not able to pitch, but you get exposure. So you make a bunch of sales and all that things. But it was fascinating to see like the reason why people joined, the reason why people came. And it just is like further evidence of Russell's frameworks, right? It wasn't inherently funnel design. They were like, oh my gosh, your story is my story. Like therefore, right?
Your authenticity.
Oh my gosh. And I think it's such a beautiful principle, right? Like, I think the people that we're most drawn to, whether in life or in business, it all comes back to that principle, right? Like, I teach design hacking, which for me, it means, how do you present a story that converts? So on a funnel, like, how do you design it in a way that people are like, oh, I get this, right? And it's the same way now that I help people with partnerships, the exact same way. How can I get this partner and I to feel like we're telling the same story? And it all goes back to, like, if my story is their story, then my solution is their solution. And so it's been so fun to play this. And in fact, even when Russell announced me, because I'm speaking again at this Funnel Hacking Live, the thing that he talked about was the fact that a boy broke my heart. He's like, the first time she talked about how this boy broke her heart. Fascinating. Yeah. What he asked me to speak on was funnel design, right? And like, my stuff's been incorporated into his training and like all this sort of stuff. And yet it was like that story. So anyway, so I just think it's really cool. And again, just like an emphasis of how smart his tactics are. But crazy enough, there I was. I told the story about how this boy broke my heart. And that's what led me to entrepreneurship. And ultimately, the way he broke my heart is I was just starting, and it was around the time that you and I connected. I just launched this book and I had started to have like my first like inkling of success, right? Online. And this boy that I was dating, I was seriously in love with him. I thought we were going to get married. And he came to me and he said, I doubt your ability to mother because of your business aspirations.
Oh,
which honestly, rude. You know, when you're like,
we're going to dive into this.
I just said, like,
maybe listening to this.
Oh, I know.
Screw you.
Literally rip. But I actually have like people, I can't tell you how fun it was. Like, I tell the story at Funnel Hacking Live. This woman comes up to me and she was just a different duck. You know, she comes up to me. First thing she says, she goes, what's his name? I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just out of context. She goes, the boy that broke, what's his name? And I'm like, oh, it's okay. She goes, no, I will cyberbully him off of the internet. What is his name? I was like, oh.
So I need to know, did you tell her?
No, I didn't, because I was like, listen, the amount of money that boy has made me from the story of him wronging me is just like good point. In the 7 figures. And so I'm like, it's all good. It's like, it's all okay.
Send him some commission checks.
Exactly. But it was one of those things where I kind of I had this mini identity crisis where I was like, is it wrong for me to, are those opposing ideas, right? To like want to provide like extreme value outside the walls of my home while simultaneously doing it within the walls of my home. And I actually didn't know what that looked like. I have the actual most amazing mom that has ever lived, and she didn't pursue any business ventures outside of the home. And so from an application standpoint, I didn't actually know what that looked like. And so, but I knew in my heart, I was like, I just can't believe that these like urges and callings and pulls that I feel to do good and be good and help people and solve problems. Like, I just can't believe that those aren't from God and that those aren't good. Right. Like, if you look at, for me, I'm like a really spiritual person. I love God. I love the Bible. I believe in Jesus. And if you look at the work that they do, right, it's all about helping people, solving problems, progressing, right, line upon line. And all these things that I wanted to do in terms of building business, all I felt like fit within those parameters of me trying to become more of a disciple. And so, as did wanting to be a mother. Right. And so in my soul, those didn't clash, but in my mind, I couldn't figure out how it worked. And so anyway, as I'm on this journey, I'd launched this book, and that's where Laura and I know each other. And then because God is good and the internet's crazy, right? I like learn everybody's story about how they discover ClickFunnels is like insane. I was on a random public speaking webinar and I just was curious. I was like, oh, I've never seen a website built like that. Interesting. Wonder what software it is. Ding to ding. And then here we are, X many years later. And I discovered .com secrets, and it blew my mind. And it was actual like framework and systems that like linked this missing chasm in my brain that I thought, oh my gosh, like if I'm just not an idiot about this, then maybe I could have significant impact outside of my home, build it in a way that is primarily automated, that can work outside of myself, buying my time back, claiming my time back, so that I also can hopefully be just an amazingly present mother and wife, right? And that's what started it. And so anyway, move forward, and I learned the biggest holdup in my thing was that I couldn't figure out how to get my funnels to work, and it was primarily the design aspect of it. And so it was like genuinely, I never like set out to be a funnel design girl. It was just the thing that it was the next step that I needed to fix. And I was stubborn. I was like, I don't want to learn how to code. I don't want to learn Photoshop. Like, I don't want to go back to school for graphic design. Is there a way to hack the system? And ultimately the ideologies just got popular. I was like teaching it to different people, and I was like, should I sell this? Like, should I package this? And here we are millions later, right? Like, anyway. And so that was just like the origin of that story. And I think God's so good, right? As I was progressing there, literally the day before I left for Funnel Hacking Live 2020, guys, I don't know if I hate that this is my story, but I never saw it coming. I did meet my husband on a dating app. It's like, we're just out there fighting.
That's okay.
Hard. I know. And it actually it kind of makes sense that my life is so much on the internet.
It's not as weird as it used to be, Kathryn.
I know.
I like that this also goes back to that slogan you just said, which is God is good and the internet is crazy.
Seriously,
Amen.
like the name of my memoir and maybe my first country album. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh. And so anyway, so I meet, and I was just I was traveling a bunch for work, and like I was just out of town, and I was like, if I'm gonna meet someone, like, I just know it's going to have to be online. So I end up matching with my husband. We talked on the phone the day before. He asked me out. I'm like, I'm actually going to go speak at this conference. So like, I can't. And he like starts stalking me, and he was like, wait, what do you do? Like, holy smokes and all this stuff. And he was an entrepreneur himself, which was like so exciting.
Yeah,
and anyway, and so the day I got back from Funnel Hacking Live, we met up and we went to dinner, and we just talked all about like literally creation. Like, how fun is it that we live in a time where like technology is available? Like, we are really blessed to live in a nation where like we're free to pursue those ideas. Like, we just like geeked out about like anything's possible together, and to find a dreamer like that. I was like, wait, this dude's really cool. Anyway, I'll just say like we spent every day with each other after that. And it was really great to know the pandemic was right after. And so we had 6 weeks about together before the pandemic like really hit. And so we were like, okay, listen, if we go down together, you know, like we're in each other's pod, like we're going to see each other over the next little bit. And it was really beautiful. And to find somebody that was like as voracious in those two things being symbiotic in terms of he also was like, I don't want to miss our kids' lives. Like, I actually get emotional talking about it. I feel like I realize how rare that is, where he's like, the last thing that I want to do is leave at 9 and come back at 5. Like, how can I miss it? And this is even before we knew Lucy, you know what I mean? Now that you meet her, you're also like, oh my gosh. And he also at the same time was like, I also feel called and have ideas that I want to live and work through it, and problems I want to solve. And so it was the first person that I met that said like, let's figure out how to do this together. And we call it the together game. Like, the game we're playing right now is the together game. Business together, marriage together, parenting together. Like, if we can do the game together, we're better together. And so anyway, so I met him, and then we got married, and it was so happy and so fun. We had a COVID wedding, so it was just our families. And it actually was so beautiful. You know what I mean? It was just like happy. It was just small and happy and us. And anyway, and it was this really interesting thing where when I got married, I had this like, I don't know how to describe that. I had a similar conversation with Josh Forty, because he got married recently as well. And we both had the same coach. And so we connected and started to become friends. And he was like, something happened to me when I got married where like all of a sudden I didn't care about anything. Like, business didn't matter anymore. And I was like, literally same. Like, and it was almost like a little jarring identity wise, because you're like, this is what I do. This is who I am, you know? And all of a sudden I got married, and it was this like, what ultimately happened was like this very apparent, real, like tangible thing that I could view in terms of input, output, that like my priorities had just like so drastically shifted.
Kathryn, I noticed, and we even said before we hit record, two things. One, Travis is amazing, right?
I'm going to be honest about that. I won the game in terms of
the perfect match for you. And I watch him as an entrepreneur too. Like, he has these things where he goes and trains other young entrepreneurs to get into the game. And you talk about power couples, like, this is legit. But so kudos, like, this together game concept is amazing. But one question I had is, I noticed that happen a little bit, like as you were pregnant, and as you just had Lucy, and as you got married, you're such a force, right? And you're everywhere. You're like omnipresent online. And I noticed you pull that a little bit back. I didn't see it quite as much. So tell us a little bit more about that, and kind of how you balanced that marriage and being a mom, now being on the other end of this. Because Lucy's 8 months old?
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Crazy.
She's an adult. But yeah, so that was the first time where like, I think, like, intrinsically in my soul, that was always the game, right? Here and here. And then when I got married, it was the first time where I was like, I felt it. I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, no, like this matters. Like what happens with Travis matters. And trying to figure out like how these both work together. Anyway, so I actually hadn't disappeared from the internet quite yet. Because then we actually got pregnant, which was so exciting. We had tried to get pregnant for a little bit before, and we were kind of struggling. And we actually went to the doctor, got a bunch of tests done, and they were like, "Listen, you guys
not an easy pregnancy."
Oh, I got absolutely hosed. And interestingly enough, so we go to the doctor, and they're like, "Kathryn, like you guys are gonna need some help getting pregnant." And we were just like, cool, great, like taking in stride, we'll get some help. And so we were planning to start some treatments. And literally like just a little bit before we were about to start, we like found out we were pregnant, which was insane. We called the doctor and we're like, we're pregnant. She goes, how? And I said, that's why we're calling you. We don't know. And she's just like, counted a miracle.
Oh,
and so we had been told like, hey, like, best case scenario is you're getting pregnant in 6 months. Right. So all of a sudden we were like, we're pregnant right now, which was, I mean, like literally amazing. So we find out we're pregnant. 1 week later, I start throwing up. And 2 weeks later, I can't talk without throwing up. I can't roll over in bed. Like I got diagnosed with something called HG. It's called hypermesis gravidum or something like that. It's the Latin term, which literally translated means excessive vomiting in pregnant women, which I'm like, there's never been a more true term, but I'm throwing up like 10 plus times a day. I'm losing weight. And it was this fascinating thing where like anything that wasn't already automated in my business, it actually just died. Like there was no time to offload and there was no capacity to offload. I've never been so like physically unable. Like I genuinely
you had no transitional period based on what the doctors were telling you. Like you couldn't plan for this. You couldn't prepare.
And neither of our moms were sick like this, right? And in fact, like in that 2 week period between me figuring out I was pregnant and then me going like for real down for the count, I was actually speaking at Lauren Golden, if you know her. She had this big event. We flew out. I was awesome. Like one of the final speakers on the last day. And by the time I got to my speaking slot, I literally couldn't sit up in bed without throwing up. And so I hadn't told anybody that I was pregnant because we just found out. Right. And so I literally just like, long story short, I have food poisoning, right? Because I'm like, I haven't even told my mom yet. I feel like I should tell my mom before I tell the world, you know? And so I literally am like, Lauren, like I couldn't move without throwing up. And so I'm like, there's no way I can give a 60-minute keynote. So I literally tell Lauren, I'm like, Lauren, I'm so sorry. I think I got food poisoning, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, is there any way you can like figure it out? And so what I ended up doing, my sister-in-law McCall was speaking at the event too. So she was there with me, also lying to her too.
Shout out to McCall.
I know, she's the best.
Hacking. Let's go.
I told Lauren, I was like, I'm kidding you not. I think the most I can do is 15 minutes and it's going to have to be from a Zoom. So they're having the actual event down in like this conference room, the hotel. I'm up like 6 floors up in my bed. Oh. And I literally just like sent this text out to my family. And I was like, pray for me between 1:45 and 2:00. Like I need like heaven's help right now. And so McCall literally, she like, I'm laying in bed. She did my makeup. She did my hair. She literally like put clothes on me because if I moved, I would like throw up. It was crazy. And I like literally like heaven help me. And I like gave this speech. The second it ended, I just like upchucked. It was like terrible. McCall like wheels me into the airport in like a wheelchair. Like it was crazy. I've never been like that. Like my body could not function. I was just like perpetually throwing up. It was crazy. Anyway, and so yeah, like I can't tell you, like when I disappeared from the internet, I wish I could say that it was like this like beautiful intentional time where I was like trying to sort out my priorities.
Take time for
God
me.
Struck me down. He was like, sweetie, figure your sheesh out. And I was like, oh my gosh. So here I am, right? And it was like, what, now that it's over, I can see the divinity in it. In the midst of it though, like it was crazy. I've never been, and like, I have a sister who's chronically ill. She has Lyme disease. And it was, again, like talk about like perspective where like, I'll get emotional talking about that too. It was like it was a tiny taste of having a sickness. Like I've never been sick where I knew the next day I was going to wake up and I wasn't going to be better. Like there was no way. And and interestingly enough, like if I got better, it meant my baby wasn't okay. Right. And so it was like this weird thing. But what happened with that, it was like the ultimate 9-month exposure therapy, because I realized during those 9 months how much just like anxieties I was holding on to in terms of like oh my gosh, like if I don't show up every day, everyone's going to hate me. Or if I don't do this, this, and this, then like my whole business is going to fail. Or if I can't fulfill to this degree, then I'm going to lose everything. And like everyone will think I'm a failure, blah, whatever the levels are. Well, interestingly enough, all those things happened. And you know what? It didn't matter. Like it was crazy. Like everything stopped. All my high ticket clients, it was genuinely a conversation of like, it is not, I'm so sorry. Like Travis helped me write the email because I couldn't look at a screen. I like would throw up. So I was like, I can't fulfill. We had like live events that were happening. We're going to push them forward 6 months. Like God be willing, I can do it. If that doesn't work for you, I totally get it. And I'll refund you today. Like it was just one of those things like that, everything. And this was also during the time of like when like iOS was being crazy with Apple and Facebook were like kind of fighting, you know? So like even ads, it was like, we were with my ads person, we were like really like doing ad creatives, all this stuff. I was like, I can't make ad like, it's over. Like traffic stopped, high ticket stuff stopped. Like the only thing that kept going was like, when this is also really cool. The only thing that kept going was affiliate partnership traffic. It's like crazy enough. I was paying myself this whole time because I'd like integrated my stuff with partnerships into all these different things.
So smart.
But it was genuinely like and it was so crazy because I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't talk or else I'd throw up. So it was just like me and my brain, you know what I mean? Like me and my brain. And it was this like terrible, horrible that I wish upon no one, yet wonderful time where it was something where it's like, okay, like I realized how much I was taking for granted the minutes I had in my day. Like I realized how much I was taking for granted the fact that I could actually use my voice and open my eyes and like type and anything. Like I just couldn't do anything. And so that lasted for about like 3 or 4 months. And at 4 months, I could like start to like somewhat move around my house. And at 6 months, I could like be out in the world, but I was still throwing up, but I could like do it. And then, so I just like, I never figured out the whole time how to stop throwing up, which was like, honestly, terrible. The day after Lucy was born, I remember I woke up that morning and I wasn't nauseous. I just like burst into tears. I was like, oh my gosh. Wow. And like, it went away. I'm so upset. And my baby was so cute. You know, I was like, I literally looked at her. I just cried. I was like, Lucy, we made it. Like, I can't believe we made it. Like her and me, you know? And God bless Travis. Like when I say he literally kept me alive, he literally kept me alive. And like to also receive like that kind of service from somebody was just like amazing. Anyway, and so we did that, and then we had our baby, and as anyone knows, again, what Travis said, he's like, we have accidentally disrespected every couple that has ever brought a child into the world, because you just like see someone's pregnant on Facebook and you're like, oh my gosh, like good for them. And you're like, they're going through hell. Well, they could potentially, right? You're like, they are dying over there. And like, we're just like, you know, like that's all we're doing is like liking the post. Or like somebody has a baby and they post newborn pictures and you're like, these people haven't slept. Has anyone checked on them? Like, are they okay? You know, like, we're just kind of like babies. I don't know. Like, it was just crazy, but like, it was just this beautiful perspective shift. And so we just had like, I had that time by myself. And then especially when Lucy came, and like everything stopped, like almost everything stopped. Right. And so it really became in a great way. It was like, well, let's be smart about what we rebuild. There was nothing to keep going other than like my CF design school was just like making me money, which is like awesome. Right. But like anything new you want to build, you're starting from scratch here, sis, because everything died. Like if you want to revamp it, you have to revamp it, if whatever. And so it really became this like beautiful thing between Travis and I, where it was like, what do we want to build? Like for real, what do we want to build? And so we started to talk about like what are the parameters of what we want to build? And then let's start to play within those. And so the first thing that we talked about was is that it has to be together. He was working so he does a bunch of stuff with kid entrepreneurs. He was actually working with a startup that had a bunch of VC funding that was ultimately funded to create a college replacement, if that makes sense. Can you have kids career ready by the time they're 18 years old? And then interestingly enough, that startup shifted drastically with OpenAI releasing their API. And so they started to incorporate like, rather than like take down the school system, can we like Trojan horse it and beat it from within? Mm-hmm. And so they started to develop a software that actually helps teachers to actually teach. Like, can we take away all the admin? Can we take away this tutoring? Can we take away all these different things? Can we take away parent communication? Can we have that all be done via AI so that like the teachers can be good, right? Like the teachers can actually have time to focus on the students and get the learning that they deserve. Anyway, so he was working for them. It was really exciting. And anyway, it was about like 4 or 5 months ago. And he was one of the founders. So he had his equity, he had his stock, and he'd been there for a while. And he said, Kathryn, like, I think let's do this thing. Like, let's build what we actually want to build. I think I quit. And I say, like, let's play the game. And so we started talking about, and the thing that had always excited us, this was what was so exciting. The thing that always got us jazzed 100%, like from the very beginning, the thing we always knew we wanted to build together was that we just lose our minds when you meet anyone. Doesn't matter if they're 80 or they're 8 years old. Like when you meet someone with a great idea, like that's a gift.
Yeah.
Like a great idea that can solve a problem. Like you can't teach that. But what people need, and more often than not, the people with these genius ideas, they're genius at the idea, not at the actual distribution or marketing of the idea.
So true.
And that's where Travis and I are actually kind of good at. And so we're like, can we just like create?
Kinda.
Thank you. We're not bad at it, right? We're pretty dang good at it. And so we're like, can we just create this like ecosystem specific and the way that we love it too? Again, talking about this together game, like the way that's the most fun is when we all win. And so like me with Sea of Design School, like my primary traffic source was joint ventures and partnerships, right? And it's amazing because it's a win for their people, it's a win for them, it's a win for me. It's like it's awesome. And so like, what does the game look like when all of a sudden you find a 14-year-old or 42-year-old or whoever that's like sitting on this genius idea, and you're like, I have the system to literally overnight get that mass distributed. And the name of the game with that in terms of quickness is partnerships and joint ventures. Mm-hmm. Like that just is what it is. And so we'd had a lot of success. I started joint ventures by myself 4 years ago. 2 years ago, I said, okay, this system really works for me. Is it working for other people? And it has. Like we've worked with people that are brand new. We've worked with people that push 8 figures a year, and partnerships work. Like if you and we were able to take kind of this nuanced thing of like build relationships, have fun, send somebody a gift, and maybe they'll say yes. Like when I started, I was like, I don't understand how that was matched up. Like I'm going to send you a gift, and then you're going to promote my thing for me. Like, I just like, it didn't make sense. And interestingly enough too, like at the beginning, I didn't even have like money to send gifts. And so I was like, well, I better figure out something different anyway. And so we developed this strategy that I'm talking all about at Funnel Hacking Live this year that fits all again within this realm of story. Like, can I get the partner to believe that he and I, or she or I, are literally telling the same story, that where we're taking our people are the same way, and that we're actually a team in this. We can move better and faster together on all fronts, right? And it's interesting. I think if you look into the mind of like somebody that owns an audience, they want 3 things, right? They want money, duh, they're an audience owner. Number 2, they want status. And if they can partner with somebody that's going to increase their status, it's an easy win. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is they want to feel morally good about what they're doing. And if they can be the good guy and bring in the hero that can help their audience on this next step, again, another clout for them. So we just started to say, is there a strategic way that we can go about doing these partnerships? And it's been amazing. Like we figured out how to do awesome stuff where every joint venture partnership we do, like not only do they agree to a pitch, we figure out how to get them to agree to a repitch. So we're doing anything from 25% to 100% extra of what we would have done because we structured the deal in a certain way. And so anyway, we're going to talk like all the nuances of that anyway, but Travis has been obsessed with that. He's a product designer. So he's like manufacture things. He believes in Kickstarter, again, together game, like all crowdsourcing, things like that. And I love it in the information sense. And so he'd been playing kind of his version of partnerships over here. I'd been playing my version of partnerships over here. And we said, hey, let's build it. Like,
I love
let's
that.
Build the empire and build the things. And we already have so many things in place, him in the e-com side, me in the information place side. And so like the game plan ultimately, like you'll start to see it like over the next little bit is like, he's building up his world, I'm building up mine. And then like eventually, strategically marketing wise, like putting them together. And so we knew we wanted to build that. Like that was just like a God gift that like we figured out what we loved through enough repetition. And I think that's one thing. People are always like, how do you find your thing? Blah, blah. You just got to go do stuff and try stuff. Like Stanford University, I don't know if you know this, they literally opened up a new school. Like there's a music school, there's a science school. They literally have a school called the School of Life Design. Because so many people were struggling finding, how do I use all these natural abilities, coding? People are going to Stanford, are exceptionally qualified people, and yet they didn't know where to put their outputs. And so they created this school called the School of Life Design. And it's founded on 3 principles. The first of which is go do stuff. Do stuff. talk to people, ask questions. That's all you got to do. And if you have enough reps of those, you're going to figure out what you like. And so gratefully, again, Travis and I how we knew each other, I started writing books. Oh, it was kind of fun, but not my thing, right? Or not the thing, right? Kept going. So that was the thing we knew we wanted to do. But then we started to play within this game of parameters. And one of the parameters, if we're like, hey, if we're going to build this, like, what does it need to look like? And one we talk about all the time, it's called the pregnancy parameter. Like, we just know, like, if we have another kid, we're out for a year. Like, we actually are done. Like, I'm out. And if we don't want somebody else to watch Lucy, then Trav's out. Like, it just, we're both out. And so, interestingly enough, it has been this like weird, fun marketing game for us where we're like, oh, blank, like that doesn't fit pregnancy parameter. We're too involved. And Alex Hermosi talks about this all the time, that one of his mentors told him solve for zero, which essentially means like create your business in a way where it works with 0% of your time. And he goes, if you can perpetually solve for zero, that's the more impact you can have. And so that for us is what we call the pregnancy parameter. And so it's been so fun to build and do these things in that way. So that's the first thing. And then again, the other parameter just being like, is this something that we can play together? Like, and are our souls both going to just be loving this together? And then to take it a step further, like, what does this look like for Lucy to get involved? Like, and not in a way you're like, child labor or anything like
my
that.
heart.
But like, what opportunities does this provide for our children in terms of how they create and their ideas that they have and what they want to do or skills they want to have? And again, talk about like reps, try stuff, do stuff. Like, does this open their opportunity for Lucy to become the truest version of Lucy? And so like, we start to hit all these things. And anyway, so we're driving on a trip. He's from Boise. We're driving on a trip, but from Boise back to Salt Lake City, where we live. And it's the Sunday before, and we have this moment. And the next day he's like, I'm going to quit my job. Like, that's what we're doing. Right. And he's like, let's have a moment. Right. Like, are we sure about this? Like, are we like, cause we're going to do it. And like, there's no going back. Like, I don't know if you guys have felt that before. You feel something in your soul and it's like, there is no other option. Right. So we're like, are we going to do this? So we start talking through like, okay, this is smart here. There's some risk associated here. We have kind of this safety net here, but you know what I mean? In this terms, right? It's a little more risky here. But it was like so beautiful. We like look in our rearview mirror and then you see Lucy, she's sleeping, right? And like, it all came down to is like, when you meet Lucy, there is no other option. Like, there's no other option than to figure out a way where we can be with her the most. Like, there just actually for us was no other option. And so like any of these like associated risks were just like immediately outweighed because of what it meant for us in terms of long-term being able to be with and provide opportunity for our sweet baby and hopefully future babies. So it has been the craziest exposure therapy of my life. And yet we've come out the other end. I'm so excited to be at Funnel Hacking Live, and it was really fun at Funnel Hacking Live. I literally used my exact strategy. There was a contest, and I said, well, let's put the strategy to the test again. I literally like documented the whole thing. I said, this is exactly my strategy. Here we go. And we ended up getting one of the slots, which was like amazing. So I'm excited to talk about that there.
You're in rare air too. Yeah, you're in rare air. Oh, wow, very few people have spoken at Funnel Hacking Live, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah.
So congratulations. We're elated. One thing I wanted to do though, and this is kind of weird. This is maybe flip-flopping a little bit.
Sure.
Laura, I noticed you getting emotional a little bit as Kathryn was talking about
the children.
I know about Lucy. And listen, you are a force in your own right. Maybe you can talk a little bit too, just about having kids and how that works as a director in a huge software company. Like, get it.
This story resonated so much, and it's wild. Like, before we hit record, I was telling you guys, like, not usually a super emotional person. Like, I can usually, keep my stuff together. And the other day I started crying because my son's about to turn 2. And your story and everything that you just shared resonates with me and probably so many other mothers out there who prioritize what they do and the impact that they're creating and their work and, feeling valuable in the workplace. And it's a really big thing when you have children and you realize there's so much more to life than just working. Mm-hmm. And it's been a struggle for me, and it will for the rest of my life probably be a struggle of, if I'm doing really great at work, am I being a really great mother? And if I'm being a really great mother, is my work suffering? Like it's a balance act every single day. And what you talked about with that, the zero factor, or making sure that your business can run without you spending so much of your time there. It's such a great thing. Like I love working for ClickFunnels full time, and it's a constant struggle. So your story of being a mom and how important it is for your children and to spend time with them, it makes me so excited to be where I am and doing what I'm doing, but also I can work remotely. I can work from home, but to run home at 5:00 and create boundaries to make sure that I am happy at home, I'm present with my children. And to also I have to give credit to Russell and Kevin and everybody, all of the leadership at ClickFunnels. They make it possible to feel like it's okay to set boundaries and to prioritize family. There is nothing like that. Yeah. I mean, you don't find that in many places that you go. And to be a mother and to be a parent and to be able to prioritize family while also doing what you absolutely love in a 9-to-5 world. It's unheard of. What I have here is just unparalleled. And I feel so grateful to be a mom who can feel like I'm doing a great job as a mother, but also setting a good example. Especially with my daughter, I think about it all the time. It's not easy to be a woman in the software world, in the tech space, and to show her that it's possible, and you can be a director, and you can be a boss, and you can do the things that you need to do. You can do whatever you want to be. You could be a painter, you could be an artist, a dancer, but that it's okay. And you can create your own path, and do what you want to do no matter what, and still put family as number one. And your story you made me so emotional, because it's a whole different ballgame when you have children.
Well, and I think just one final thing I just want to reiterate as well, that I think is so beautiful that you point out, where you're it's not easy to be a woman in tech. And interestingly enough, I think it's not easy to be a man in tech either. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book, The Boy Crisis, before, but essentially it talks about how the way that society has functioned is, and families have been organized just due to the Industrial Revolution and things like that, was that the way they
you don't go milk cows with your sons anymore, right? You go off to work.
Is that a man had to, and this is the way they phrase it, in order for a family to survive, a man had to kill the glint in his eye. That I think that a Travis, and I think especially someone like you, Chris, who's so family centric, to be so open, and a Russell to be so open and forward about that is this beautiful conversation that I think has happened, especially in the last 10 years, where it is okay and even celebrated for a Travis to say, I don't want to work full time. I want to be with my baby, and it's not looked down upon because he's not hustling, running. So I think there's this beautiful, genuine revolution in terms of I think it goes back to principles that I think, again, that are very beautiful in terms of love and unity and community and and that we actually progress better when we are together, not when we're segmented and separated. Totally. And so anyway, I think it's exciting what's happening in the world right now.
I think to sum this entire podcast up is the together game. I love that, Kathryn. It's so funny. I was driving home with Jen. We had gone to dinner. Anyways, we were listening to the Killers. They have a song. This sounds really weird, but they have a song. It's called Read My Mind. And there's one lyric in there that got me kind of emotional, behind my sunglasses. I'm I don't want Jen to see whatever. But the silly lyric was, and I don't shine if you don't shine. And I thought that was so darn cool, because in all aspects of life, I do partnerships for ClickFunnels. And you mentioned, and Pedro Adeo says the same thing too, the win-win-win. They win, we win, and their clients win. This principle in business, if everybody would stick to that, we would all, the rising tide, right? Raises all boats. And if I don't shine, you don't shine. If we could all work together, and that goes for family, it goes for business. I think this has just been an amazing conversation. And I am stoked, Kathryn, to hear you. When they say third time's a charm, you knocked it out of the park the first time. So I cannot wait to hear what you bring at Funnel Hacking Live. And this is a great reminder. If you do not have your tickets to Funnel Hacking Live, what are you doing? You tell me where is more important for you to be at the end of September than with all these amazing people. So go get your ticket. Hear from awesome people like Kathryn. And Kathryn, before we let you go,
yes.
1, any closing thoughts? And 2, please tell everybody where they can find you online and follow you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Final closing thought is to just tell you another song that you should go listen to if you want to bawl your eyes
Okay,
out.
I'm ready.
Oh no.
It's called The Mother by Brandi Carlile, but the line in it says, "I'll never make it big time without you," talking about her children.
Oh,
I
think that is
Carlisle.
very true and very real. And again, how fun that like I'm speaking on joint ventures and partnerships. And again, it just all circulates around. It's just all the together game. All the together game. The more that we can be together and with in our families, in our businesses, in our lives, in our relationships, truly the better we are. I think that is how we were designed to be, was complementary, not competitive. 100%. I think that
And
was
my
God's
heart
divine
grew
design.
3 sizes today.
Mic drop.
So I think that's how God made us. So that's my final thought. In terms of how you can follow me, a few different ways, but you can come follow me on Instagram, Miss Kathryn Jones, MS Kathryn Jones. If you want to see fun pictures, see what I'm up to. But I actually have a new Instagram channel that is awesome. And it's literally called Collaboration Baby, where I talk all about famous big partnerships, joint ventures between like major companies, why they worked, why they didn't, why they fell apart, how you can model that, whether you have a huge company, small, working in e-com, service-based, coaching, all these different things, taking the examples of again, amazing, great partnerships and ones that have failed to help you guys the way. So again, if you guys want to come follow me there, Collaboration Baby, that's where it's at on Instagram.
Love that. I am like,
You are the best.
I'm trying to like disguise my smile. Like I feel like so this whole interview felt so liberating and therapeutic, and you spoke to my heart, and I'm already so excited for this to be released because I feel like you're the first person to get me in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, and like have tears in my eyes.
It's just because we're talking about kids and we're talking about family. I think we're talking about God and the important things. That's really when it all comes down to.
Truly.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on this. I cannot wait to see you on stage. I can't wait for everyone else to hear all the cool things that you have to share and to connect and to just be in the same room with people that I'm like just excited to chat with and become friends with and hang out with. So yeah, again, if you don't already have your tickets, come join us. Please go to funnelhackinglive.com because we really just genuinely want to hang out with you.
For real. Together game is real. Come together.
That's right. Yeah. Come together for the Together Game at the end of September in Orlando. Thank you again, Kathryn. We will see you in Orlando.